one of those journeys involved a discovery that led to a very high profile podcast, and it's called The Man Who Calculated Death. Here she is, Suzanne Rico, everybody. Look at you. How are you?
It's great to be here. Just as I was in the waiting room, I'm listening to your voice, which I've always loved. I think you have the best voice in show business. And just hearing you kind of fight the good fight, buddy, hats off to you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. Yeah, these are scary times in a way. But I'm really excited for not only your success, but this story has taken on kind of a momentum and a profile. I know you were nominated for whatever the podcast awards are. I'm chuckling. The podcast awards probably should be more significant than the Oscars, because podcasts, I feel, are really the way in which people who communicate, like yourself, journalists, et cetera, punch through. But anyway, so you've been recognized in all of these ways. Tell me about The Man Who Calculated Death.
So The Man Who Calculated Death was something that was a complete surprise to me, even though it is a deep dive into my own family ancestry, because growing up, like, nobody really wants to ask questions like, hey, was grandpa a Nazi? Or, what's the deal? And my mom was a World War II survivor. She was 11 years old when she emigrated. Her mother was killed in this really violent, mysterious way. She survived one of the terror bombings when her city burned to the ground all around her. She had so much trauma that she did not want to talk about it. So it wasn't until fast forward in 2013 when she died that her last request was that my sisters and I would finish the memoir about her childhood. And we thought, okay, this is going to be easy. Like, right? She's written most of it. We'll just go in and make a few edits and clean it up. Oh my gosh, it was anything but. And that really kicked off this 10-year deep dive and all these different discoveries. I mean, I've been working on it full time since COVID, since 2020. And this is you're seeing my grandfather. His name was Robert Lesser. He was an aeronautical engineer who got sucked in to the Nazi regime bit by bit. And
tell us, just not to interrupt, but tell us particularly, just to go back, your mom, et cetera, your family, where are they during this whole thing? World War II and the rise of Nazism, where are they living?
Yeah, so they bounced around a lot because my grandfather was constantly getting new jobs. So they were in Stuttgart at the very beginning, and actually then he went to the Messerschmitt factory where he designed the Bf-109, which turned out to be the backbone of the German Luftwaffe. I mean, it is still the most produced warplane in history, the Bf-109. So he got lots of accolades and acclaim for that. And then they moved to the Baltic Sea, and he worked for another company. And then through this crazy conspiracy that I uncovered that my mother didn't even know, he was brought up on war crimes charges by the Nazis because they thought he was sabotaging the planes. So all of it, Mark, I never dreamed that when I started this project that it would be so relevant in today's times, right? I mean, the rise of authoritarianism that we're seeing in the United States and in Germany with the AfD, this is exactly what happened to my family. Is he was not an ideological Nazi. He hated Adolf Hitler, but slowly, he got sucked into that. And before you knew it, he was creating a weapon of mass destruction for Adolf Hitler.
Just chilling. It really is chilling. Yeah. And so take us, just the series is up, and we'll have a link to it under this video, The Man Who Calculated Death. But take us a little bit through some of the specifics as you made these discoveries. I mean, a couple of those revelatory moments, or where you realized, oh my God, this is something. I mean, it seems as though your family, maybe because of the German background and World War II and the rise of Nazism, there probably were a lot of things that were not discussed because it was embarrassing or shameful, or,
If you talk, Mark, to, and I know you have, World War II survivors, whether it's Holocaust, whether it's Germans, the actual survivors who have died out a lot by now, it was just too awful for them to revisit, right? So I feel like it's kind of fallen to my generation to talk about it, right? To really bring the stories to light. And one of the things that is crazy to me that I discovered in this journey was that my grandmother, who was married to this Nazi aeronautical engineer, she actually had tainted blood. And she was a gypsy descendant, which we can't say gypsy, right? That was the derisive term that they used for them. They're the Roma people. But that was a secret that they had to keep. And they buried it so well that my mom had heard like bits and like maybe little whispers through open windows. But it wasn't until I started digging in that I found the story of the fact that they had buried that past so that it could not come back and either send them to a concentration camp or get them killed with the Nazi regime.
And the mother lode of information for you was your mother's writings?
My mom, when she died, again, I thought it was going to be easy. I thought it was just going to be cleaning up and doing some edits, right? And then my sister and I went into her office and we found just this treasure trove, including, let me give you just a couple of teases. We found a telegram that was sent from Hermann Goering to my grandfather. Hermann Goering was Hitler's number 2. And it was a congratulatory telegram for his creation of the V1 flying bomb, because 3 days earlier, it had hit a church in England and killed 123 people. So it was like, I was reading this and I'm like, oh my God, this is a telegram from like the top Nazi congratulating my grandfather. And how do I get my arms and my emotions around the fact that he was so integral in deaths, thousands, tens of thousands of deaths.
You knew your grandfather?
Nope. He died in 1969.
Okay. So the connections had to sort of be worked in the ways, almost journalistically, the way you're kind of used to working connections.
Not almost journalistically. This was the hardest journalism I have ever done. And the last 2 episodes of the podcast, Mark, focus on the question of who killed my grandmother and why. And the legend in my family, which makes a lot of sense, was that my grandfather had created this vengeance weapon, which wreaked havoc on England. And so the Allies wanted a little vengeance of their own. So they bombed this farmhouse out in the middle of a Bavarian forest full of women and children. Like, why would they do that, right? You don't bomb a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere unless you're trying to send a message. So that was the legend, and nobody had ever been able to prove it. And I actually found the answer.
Wow.
Well, it took me forever.
It's an extraordinary personal journey that you share with us. And I look forward to The Man Who Calculated Death continuing to, enrapture a lot of people. I mean, it's really become very, very popular podcast. And you can find it in a few different places. Isn't that right, Suzanne Rico?
Yeah, you can find it Apple, Spotify, Wondery. I mean, right now it's rolling out on a free basis. So we just released episode 4. There are 9 in total. And by the way, Mark, it just won the Gracie Award for Best Writing, which is very exciting.
Oh, that's terrific. Congratulations on that. There you go. Wow.
That's a big one for me because I'm a writer, right? So that somebody is recognizing the fact that I did well with this is huge. But you can find it out for free. New episodes drop every Tuesday. And, I'm excited and nervous to share it with the world because the information and the storyline and the themes are so sensitive. But yet, I think if we don't tell stories like this, then we lose the lessons of the past, which we absolutely need for the future.
Well, I think not only is that true, but you have a personal connection to this story. So as you say, sharing it serves what you're talking about, but also your personal journey, I think, makes it even more compelling emotionally. So the man who...
I just want to say one more thing, which I was shocked. The first, again, because nobody wants to go out there and say like, hey, I have this Nazi background. Like, it's nerve-wracking. But I made my first post on my social media, which is SuzanneRico.com or Suzanne Rico on all socials. And I went out and I made this post, Mark. It's got almost 2 million views.
Wow.
Like, it's resonating. And the second one has almost 1 million views. So people are resonating, I think, with the story. And, I'm just going to keep telling it and hope that it can teach some important lessons.
Well, I mean, clearly it's punched through. So congratulations. So for those who aren't aware of it yet, it is The Man Who Calculated Death. Find it where you find podcasts. Suzanne, come back. A lot of love for you in the chat. So come back and visit. Do another podcast. Find another Nazi member of your family and come back.
Done with Nazis. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Off Nazis. Something else.
All right, Mark, thank you.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you soon.
All
Bye-bye.
right,
Suzanne Rico, everybody.
Hi, it's Mark,
stuff.
and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.